Remember David Cameron, now Lord Cameron, a former UK Prime Minister who also served as the Foreign Secretary in the Rishi Sunak government until it was voted out last year? His conduct during the ongoing Gaza Holocaust was despicable, to say the least. He was the same man who, as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, had suspended arms supply to Israel in 2014 when Israeli terrorists had killed close to 2,000 Palestinians. But ever since Rishi Sunak appointed him as the Foreign Secretary in November 2023, he continued to exhibit his biases in favor of Israel, as if helping war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu drop 2,000-pound bombs on hospitals and schools and brutally slaughter thousands of innocent Palestinian men, women, children, and babies wasn't enough. The Middle East Eye News website has now revealed that Cameron threatened to defund and withdraw the UK from the International Criminal Court if Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan went ahead with his application seeking an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. This is huge. And it only confirms the control of the Israeli lobby over the British government. So, in effect, the British government is not the government of a sovereign country. If Israel, a settler colony built on the stolen land of Palestinians, has so much of power, then you are not a sovereign country. Because the details published by the Middle East Eye News website are appalling. And if you are a British national, then you must hang your head in shame. Or you must give grief to your politicians, your MPs. According to the report, Cameron made a phone call to Karim Khan, who is a British national himself. He made this phone call on 23rd of April last year, when the ICC prosecutor was on an official trip to Venezuela. Cameron reportedly told Karim Khan that applying for arrest warrants for Netanyahu and the then Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant would be like dropping a hydrogen bomb. You know the irony? He said this at a time when Israel was burning Palestinians alive using hydrogen bomb like weapons. Cameron went on to add that it was one thing to investigate and prosecute Russia for a war of aggression on Ukraine, but quite another to prosecute Israel when it was defending itself from the attacks of 7th of October. Cameron then claimed the warrants would have profound implications in Britain and within his own Conservative Party. He then told Khan that if the ICC issued arrest warrants against Israeli war criminals, the UK would defund the court and withdraw from the Rome Statute. According to the report, Cameron was aggressive during that phone call and was shouting, so much so that Khan had to make requests for him to be able to complete his sentences. Cameron reportedly told Khan that in the event that the ICC issued an arrest warrant against Netanyahu, the UK would be required to arrest the Israeli war criminal if he traveled to the country. This was his pain. He was concerned that an arrest warrant by the ICC would leave the conservative government with no option but to arrest Netanyahu. So what did the then Rishi Sunak government do? It immediately filed an official objection to Karim Khan's application. Mind you, Israel didn't file an objection. It was the UK government which was filing an objection in the International Criminal Court. This was to further delay the process. Cameron then warned that the UK would defund the ICC and withdraw from the Rome Statute. This would have meant that Netanyahu could have traveled to the UK even after an arrest warrant by the ICC. In other words, Cameron and his bosses were determined to do anything to prevent the arrest of a bloodthirsty terrorist. Somebody should ask this Cameron chap how he manages to sleep at night. How does he maintain eye contacts with his own children? He has 3 of them. The revelation made by the Middle East Eye website mustn't surprise you. You may have forgotten, but I don't forget the disgusting conduct of such politicians. Only a day after Karim Khan filed applications for arrest warrants against Netanyahu, Gallant, and three Hamas leaders, Cameron was condemning the ICC in the House of Lords. You can watch the full video here, but I'll play a short clip from that Q&A for you to understand just how disgraceful he was.
I thank the noble lord for his answer, but of course events have moved on since my question was laid. The ICC prosecutor has made applications for 5 arrest warrants alleging war crimes and crimes against humanity against senior Hamas leaders and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Minister of Defence. The prosecutor was advised to do so unanimously by the independent panel of experts, our own Baroness Kennedy of the Shores among them, which has set out why it believes there are reasonable grounds to believe Mr Netanyahu and Mr Gallant have committed war crimes and crimes against humanity. Surely it is now obvious that the UK should immediately at least suspend arms exports licences to Israel, given the clear risk that continuing them would put the UK in breach of international law. And surely the noble Lord the Minister will confirm here that the UK accepts the jurisdiction of the court in this case under the Rome Statute that the UK helped to write and, of course, agreed to.
Well, what I'd say to the noble lady is the last time I was asked to make a sort of political declaration outside our normal process of reviewing arms export licences and simply say we wouldn't sell any more arms to Israel. Just a few days later, Iran attacked Israel with a hail of over 140 cruise missiles, and I think that position of acting outside our normal processes would have been completely wrong. But let me answer very directly on the ICC and the announcement yesterday. I mean, I don't believe for one moment that seeking these warrants is going to help get the hostages out, it's not going to help get aid in, and it's not going to help deliver a sustainable ceasefire. And as we've said from the outset, because Israel is not a signatory to the Rome Statute and because Palestine is not yet recognised as a state, we don't think that the court has jurisdiction in this area. But I would go beyond that and say, frankly, I think this is mistaken in terms of position, in terms of timing, in terms of effect. To draw moral equivalence between the Hamas leadership and the democratically elected leader of Israel, I think is just plain wrong. And I think it's not just Britain saying that. Countries all over Europe and all over the world are saying that. On timing, I'd make the point to the Lordship's House that the ICC was about to embark on a visit to Israel, which some of us had helped to arrange, and at the last minute decided to cancel that visit and simply go ahead with its announcement. Now, it's not normally for the ICC to think about the effect, but as it clearly thought about the timing, maybe it should also think about the effect. And as I've said, it's not going to help get the hostages out, and it probably makes change in Israel less likely.
I recall in 2014, in the conflict between Israel and Hamas, that he agreed with us on these benches that in that conflict, where there were just over 2,000 Palestinian casualties, then the Prime Minister decided to pause military equipment licences to Israel on the basis of a position of disproportionate response by the Israeli military. That was the normal procedure which he's referred to. So do we take it now that his view is that the Israeli military response currently is proportionate? And when it comes to the ICC, will the Foreign Secretary reassure me that notwithstanding any of his opinions about the ICC, we will honour every obligation the United Kingdom has signed up to in the Rome Statute? These are treaty obligations for when it comes to those who would be arraigned by the ICC.
What I say to the noble lord, there's a bit of a difference between 2014 and now, and that is today. I'll tell you why. Today is day 227 when the hostages are still in captivity, including British citizens. And all of this relates to what happened on October the 7th. There was no October the 7th in 2014, so we are in a different situation. Of course, we respect the independence of the ICC, but just as we respect its independence, they should respect the independence of politicians, not to suddenly lose their voice and lose all their opinions about these things. I have a very clear view about what's happened, and I've been happy to share it with your Lordship's House.
Not that the current Labour government has been any better, as it continued with the policies of the Rishi Sunak government after coming to power. The latest case in example is the kidnapping of Greta Thunberg and other volunteers, including French lawmaker Rima Hassan. The ship they were using to carry aid materials for the people of Gaza was a British ship. And yet, there has been no condemnation from Prime Minister Keir Starmer or his minion David Lammy. The current UK government issued a hollow warning to Israel more than 2 weeks ago and threatened to act decisively if Israeli terrorists didn't stop their renewed offensives and allow the entry of food, water, and medicine into Gaza. Israel has chosen to completely ignore that warning. And yet the UK government doesn't have the courage to act on its own warning. Clearly, UK MP Kit Malthouse was right. Such public posturing by the Keir Starmer government was designed to ensure that there was no rebellion within the Labour Party. Now these Labour MPs have to decide how many more Palestinians must die before they rebel against their own leader. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.